Missed being in person. The one thing we've missed more than anything else is the man, the myth, the legend, Bob Saxon, your president. He's going to kick us off. Bob?
At Paul's request, is there a cardiologist in the house, please? Mike Kelsey Sr., you've heard me say this before. Mike Kelsey Sr., one of the patriarchs of the industry, Palmer Johnson, said to me one time, Bob, you never want to be the next one on stage after a stripper or a Dixieland band, okay? Now I got to throw Flannery into that, Talking about welcome back, I reached into my pocket, and guess what I found? Well, first of all, a free cocktail to the Winterfest Boat Parade from 2017, you know how sure that got there, and a mask. You remember masks? Okay, well, here we are. Welcome. Somebody from Merrill Stevens, I had a Merrill Stevens shirt on, came by a little while ago and said, it is so great to be back. I can't wait for the boat show. And I think that's the sentiment that we're all sharing. Okay. In fact, this is, I think, Paul, it's the first live seminar we've done in like 18 months, if I'm not mistaken, which is fantastic. But we have been continuing this good educational series that ECYSS does. And if you've been missing those, there's some fantastic information online. All you got to do is go online and look at it and download it from the ECYSS website. You don't even have to be a member, but you should be a member. But you don't even have to be a member. And I always thought those were good topics to bring up and spend about 20 minutes at the beginning of a sales meeting. I don't know, we probably have downloaded 30 or 40 of those webinars that we have on there as well. I'm Bob Saxon Consultancy. I'm president of IYBA. I'm an old educator myself, so I'm gratified to see such a good turnout that we have here today. And because, as I've said many times, it's been attributed to me, but it is not me. Knowledge is power. I think Plato said it. I'm not sure, but somebody said it before I did. Because you got to stay one step ahead of the competitors. You've got to. And regardless of what position you are in this industry, whether you're a yacht broker or any of the ancillary support services that are here today, and as Paul was going through the punch list of folks that are here, listing assistants, secretaries, any other surveyors, lawyers, whatever we have here today, adding to your knowledge base gives you a little bit of a competitive edge and keeps you a step ahead of your customer. Because knowledge is so freely dispensed these days, your customers know as much as you do, and if you're not careful, they don't need you. So let's move on. I want to, Paul mentioned what a great turnout we have from, in particular, HMY. So let's give a kudos to HMY, especially Laura Hogel, Laura is in the webinar, seminar, ECYBA Hall of Fame, okay? And we get great support from her, as we do from Tom George and all of the other, MarineMax and all the other companies that have gone to the trouble of asking their folks that work for them to be here today and learn a few things. So quickly, a few household keeping items. First, a word about our sponsors. And our sponsors are special to us because they're just not, they just don't come to us and give us money. But they believe in the cause. They believe in ECYBA and what ECYBA does. So that's nice to have a sponsor that's just not looking for exposure, but at the same time believe in what we do and what our mantra is. Marsh Mclennan, and I want you to, at the end, I want you to give a nice round of applause and recognition to these. Marsh Mclennan, our good old friends, Robert Allen Law, Yacht World Boats Group, the Caribbean Charter Show. Maybe Paul will take a second to talk about that when he gets up for his comments. Yachtbroker.org. And I don't think I've forgotten anybody, Paul. If I have, Paul's saying no, I haven't. So in addition to that, I want to mention that I don't know how we're handling parking. I didn't ask Emma, but those of you that valet have some sort of relief from valet, I hope, because I did, it's 35. Okay. Lunch will be served in the atrium, easy enough. The restrooms are extreme port. Let's see, left port. And extreme starboard over here. Okay, so you need to break from that. The CPYB, those of you that are here with CPYB seeking credits, got a little trick for you. You have to sign in. At the end of the day, sign out. Wax on, wax off. Okay, and that'll get you your credit. If you don't sign out, that means you cut and run. Then you're not going to get any credit for that. So that may be it. Selfies, there's a selfie station over there. I noticed in the garden that you can take a picture and send it back to your boss and say, you see, I really was here. I didn't take off, okay? So right now I want to introduce our president, who's already made his own self-introduction here, Paul Flannery, who's going to give us a little ECYBA update. Paul?
right. Thanks, Bob. I guess president is like an enduring title around here. Executive, there you go. Yeah, thank you, Bob, and thanks everybody for coming. It's really nice to be back, as I said when we opened up. You know, we've all missed being able to be here in person, to talk with one another, to network, to learn. We've got several things I'd like to tell you about that are going on with IYBA right now. Just to give you an update, so we're all licensed in the state of Florida, as you know, theoretically and hopefully you're licensed. California and Florida are the only two states that have licensing. And in this last legislative session in Tallahassee, by the way, one of you guys cut me off at 9:25, all right? Because if you know me, I'll keep going. So the last legislative session in Tallahassee, our statute, Chapter 326, was up for deregulation. It's happened many times over the years. The law went into effect in 1987. Sundowning or sunsetting is something that happens with statutes. And we've had to fight it each and every time. We were lumped in with the esteemed industries of tattooing, hair braiding, needling, some of the other real high, well, their careers as well. But I had lobbied with the governor and the secretary of the Department of Business and Professional Regulation last year to modify Chapter 326 in order to enhance professionalism and enhance consumer protections in the state of Florida. I met with a lot of resistance from them because they viewed it as an increase in regulation. I pitched it to the governor as it's consumer protection. He looked over his glasses and said, well, at least you're a good salesman, but I'm not going to do that. So we determined that we needed to go legislatively with it. With the bill for deregulation, we were successfully able to challenge that. And it's really not like you go up there with your shields and your swords and you fight them back. What you do is you hire a lobbyist. Ellen Bogdanoff is our lobbyist. You guys may remember her name from being the champion of our fight for the sales tax cap. Ellen is now a lobbyist with Becker. Excuse me. She does a wonderful job. She's incredibly well connected up in Tallahassee. And she has helped us significantly already. So we were able to challenge the deregulation. So that just died in session. And now what we're doing is we're mounting a challenge to introduce a bill into the next legislative session that would effectively deregulate yacht brokerage, but allow us to self-regulate. Use the Florida Bar that regulates lawyers, or the Florida Real Estate Commission that regulates realtors. Use that as a kind of a mindset example. So what would happen is the governor would appoint a commission, ostensibly, and this is what we're writing statute for it right now, actually. One of the things I've learned in Washington, D.C. is making laws is like making sausage. You don't want to know how it's done. You just want to know what the end result is. What we're hoping for is to have the governor appoint a commission that would be upon the recommendation of some industry leaders. I don't know who they may be, but a commission that would determine the qualifications to become a yacht broker, the potentially the training, testing, and continuing education credits that would be necessary to maintain your license. And really what we'd like the state to do is to issue the licenses upon the recommendation of the commission and or suspend or revoke licenses dependent upon the recommendations of the commission. You know what I mean? You'd have to make some pretty serious errors to have that recommendation. But the long and the short of it is, it allows us as an industry to control our own destiny, to enhance consumer protections, and enhance professionalism. You people in this room are the people that embrace the idea of professionalism in our industry. It's evidenced by the fact that you're here. You want to learn. You want to be better at your job. You want to provide better services to your clients. We need the other, well, there are 3,800 license holders in the state of Florida. There are about 2,500 of them that are active. We're at about 33% penetration with 868 or 869 professional members at IYBA. Not to say that everybody in IYBA does everything that they should be doing every single day, like you guys trying to learn, but at least being a member of the association, you agree to adhere to a professional standard. It means 2/3 of the people that are licensed in the state of Florida don't even agree to adhere to a professional standard. So we really want that to happen. What we'll do is we'll develop the training, we'll develop the testing, and it won't be, it's not like trying to get your CPYB just to become a broker, but there will be standards that you'll have to meet. This is all our hope, this is all our desire. I want to thank the companies that really stepped up and supported our effort. Before the golf scramble, I called the leaders of many of the different companies and asked for support to mount this challenge. I was able to get pledges for $186,200 to the IYBA PAC. It's actually the FYBA PAC fund because we're still legally the Florida Yacht Brokers Association, DBA, IYBA. But we were able to get a great response. I've collected a good percentage of that money. There are still a few phone calls I have to make to get it all rounded out. But then again, I've also got a round 2 of people to call. So it's an expensive effort. It's going to cost us about $250,000 to get this done, is what the lobbyists are telling us. So we've got a really good leg up at $186,000 in contributions and commitments. So that's what's going on with Chapter 326. Another thing that we've done, so I think it's really important for our industry to control our own destiny. How are we going to do that? Through professionalism, through enhanced consumer protections, through controlling our data, and data is king. In this day and age, you look at the FANG companies, right? What are they? Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and Google. What are they? They're data, and they're the 4 biggest companies in the world. So data is obviously king these days. Well, what are we? We provide services, but we're nothing without the products that we sell. How do we do that? We do it with our data. We control our data, we will control our destiny. So that's why we've developed the MLS that's called yachtbroker.org. Casey's out in the lobby. Those of you brokers that would like to learn more about yachtbroker.org, have some experience and some knowledge about it, but want some fine tuning on utility, Casey's out there to give you some one-on-one workshops. So if you haven't signed up for those in the registration process, she's there and available to help you during the course of the day-to-day. She'll be holding workshops. Yachtbroker.org right now has about 7,000 boats in it. 7,000 boats in yachtbroker.org. YachtGo has about 7,000 boats in it. The yacht world has, 55,000, 60,000 boats. But when you drill down in an analysis between the two of them of the market segment, we don't have any canoes, we don't have any cruise ships, we don't have a bunch of Avons. We've got boats basically from 25 to 150 feet. There's some 200-footers in there, but we've got about 65 or 70% penetration to what Yacht World actually has. And there are no duplicates, there are no ghost listings. It's real, solid, hard data. You're going to learn more about it later on today in a presentation by some of the experts that use it, that understand it, that will tell you why it's as good as it is and how well it can enhance your ability to do business. But controlling our data is incredibly important. Another thing that's really, really important is legal stuff. So in our industry, as the standard has been, if there's a dispute, if there's a problem, what you do is you go to court, right? Nobody likes to go to court. It's expensive, it's long and drawn out. The only one that wins is the lawyers. No offense to any lawyers, but it's not the most expeditious process to solving problems. So a couple of years ago, Bob Allen and I were talking about a great way to solve that, and the idea for the International Yacht Arbitration Council was born. I'm here to tell you that in April, we trained our first 14 certified arbitrators for the International Yacht Arbitration Council. It is a legal entity, a Florida corporation. The purpose is to provide alternative dispute resolution through arbitration, specifically designed for the yachting industry. Give you an example of some of the arbitrators that have been certified. Rob Moss, Michael Moore, Bob Allen, Mike Karcher, Carol Wexler, James Jaffa of Jaffa & Company in the UK, John Burkhart, Jeff Stanley, Gary Smith, There are a couple of others in this room that I'm forgetting, and I apologize, but we've got 14 leaders that know the industry backwards and forwards. They're judicious people. They're well-versed in what's right and what's wrong, and they're here to solve your problems. Just so you know a little bit about arbitration, you know, IYBA, God love them, they're a great association, but they've chosen mediation as the dispute resolution platform in their contracts. Mediation is not binding. Arbitration is binding. If you go to arbitration with a dispute, you come to a resolution, you agree in the rules that it is binding. If you say, you know what, I'm not happy with it, you go to court, the judge looks at that and goes, thanks for coming by, you don't get 2 bites of the apple, have a nice day. So arbitration is binding, and it's a great way to resolve disputes because Joe Stanley can tell you about arbitration. She's very, very well versed in it. She'll be a part of the party as we go forward. Do not fret. But arbitration, what it does is it provides you an expeditious, cost-effective, and tuned resolution platform. So just this morning, I approved the language, and I've got one more. We've been bantering back and forth on the language for paragraph 17 for clause 17 of our contracts, and that's the dispute resolution clause, and we will be naming IYAC as the default dispute resolution platform for any issues that you have to resolve in the business under our contracts. We fine-tune the language so it's specific to the contracts themselves. Yachtbroker.org, as I mentioned a moment ago, is a big piece of what we're doing. Developing that platform has taken a lot of work. When I was president of the association, actually when Gary was president of the association before me, I know Gary's here in the room somewhere, there he is. We actually kicked it off, I think, under your leadership. You were president, I was VP, and then when I was president, we kept moving it forward, and then when I took over as executive director, we really smashed our foot down on the accelerator. Garrett Schwartz, those of you that know him, he's a, I don't know if the 2 words work in the same sentence, but he's a tech animal. He's just amazing. He's passionate about the product. He understands our industry. He has no ulterior motives other than to provide an incredible platform for us to be able to share information. So the guys over at IYBA, we talked with them early in the game about coming on board and putting their boats in there. And initially, remember, we called it IYBA.pro. The concern for them and the members of the other associations, there are 7 associations in North America. There's IYBA, IYBA, California, Northwest, Ontario, Gulf Coast, and one other Canadian group, I forget what they are. But we approached those other groups. I've approached those other groups in leadership meetings, and they were reluctant to come on board to IYBA.pro because they felt like it was a bit of a membership grab for IYBA. And you know, there are 2 philosophies about that. We spent the money, we developed it. There's a group that says they should become members of IYBA to utilize it. But what we've done is we've come to realize that the best thing to do is to offer it out to the industry. So if you're a member of any professional association, you're welcome to input your boats into yachtbroker.org, non-denominational, and you're also welcome to search yachtbroker.org to find boats. If you want to feed to your website, if you want us to host your website and provide a feed, or if you want to scrape the data and do a blended feed into your website, those are pay-to-play options. They're very, very reasonably priced, but that's what we're doing with yachtbroker.org, and IYBA has recently decided that they really like that idea. And I'm going up to Annapolis in July to make a presentation to a group like this of IYBA members to help them understand the benefits of being on yachtbroker.org. So you'll see more product on there. You'll see more across state lines. You'll see a whole lot more diversified offering in yachtbroker.org. I expect that we'll probably see maybe a 50% increase in the inventory on there. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I think it's going to be a great thing for the industry as a whole. On the federal front, you know, we spent a lot of money and a lot of time on something we call deferred importation. Deferred importation is the ability to offer foreign flag vessels to U.S. residents while in U.S. waters for sale or charter. When you come in with a foreign flag vessel right now, you are issued a cruising permit. It's a treaty agreement between many, many different countries. And when you're issued that cruising permit, it states boldly on the bottom, this vessel may not be offered for sale or charter to U.S. residents while in U.S. waters. Vladimir Putin, you guys may know who he is. He could walk down the dock at Bahia Mar, I guess if he could get into the country, he could buy the boat. Raul Castro, yeah, he could walk down the dock and buy the boat. John Q. Public from 123 Main Street, Anytown, USA, he's not allowed to buy the boat. That's discrimination against American citizens or American residents. So it's a law that was enacted in 1908, and it was designed to protect American shipbuilding. I won't say that that ship has sailed, but it's not as prevalent as it was back in 1908. And we see it as a barrier to commerce, and what it can do is it can stimulate the economies of coastal communities, especially during our COVID times. A lot of those boats didn't go back over the Med. They didn't go down to the Caribbean. They plied the coastal waters of the United States, but they were not permitted to offer the vessels for charter. That was a problem. We tried to help the administration understand that, but under the Trump administration, there was just so much noise in Washington that you couldn't get a word in edgewise. I won't say we severed ties, but we decided to stop supporting our lobbyists' Scotch habit. We cut expenses on lobbying because we really weren't getting anywhere with it. But I met last week and the week before with a couple of other people. Under the new administration, things are changing a little bit, and we're trying to get a feel for whether we feel like we can reinvigorate that effort in Washington, D.C. Got a couple of things in the hopper. Brian Mast is a great friend of the association. He's a U.S. congressman from the district that begins, I think, in Palm Beach and goes up to around Melbourne. Brian's a great friend of the industry. He sponsored a bill. Lois Frankel sponsored a bill for us. And we're talking about reinvigorating those in what is now the 117th Congress to see if maybe on the transportation infrastructure stimulus we could get slid in there. We're investigating that. So it's not a dead issue. We invested an awful lot of time and effort, and we're passionate about it. Gary made a bunch of trips to D.C. I made a bunch of trips to D.C. A few other members that are in here have been there for ABC. Staley Weidman, Jeff Erdman is the one who kicked the whole thing off. We've made a real concerted effort and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to get this thing done. And we're not going to let it die, but we're not going to try to go headlong into it if we feel like there's too much headwind. So that's what's going on with that. With regard to Compass Magazine, some of you have copies of it on your desks. Compass is online. We have a new, I forget what they call it, the page turning software. Anyway, we have a new way to look at Compass Magazine. When you go on IYBA.org, you click on Compass, you click on the issue you want to read, and you can read the magazine online. But the really cool thing is that in the table of contents, if you see, oh my God, Paul Flannery wrote From the Helm, I gotta read what he has to say, you can click on it, it'll take you right to the article. It'll also take you to interesting articles in the magazine as well. You can click on the pictures in the TOC, and the pictures will take you right to the article that they pertain to as well. So we've employed a little new software in the way you can read Compass Magazine online. Congratulations to Tom Serio for a beautiful cover shot that's on this one right here. I also want to mention briefly, I thought that was me. Is that my timing? Well, you guys are going to have to suffer through me for a few more minutes. I got more to say. So we did our events for the last year virtually, and I just want to give a shout out to that guy right there in the back looking very studious. Lee Savage did an incredible job of making us look professional. He's got great filters on his camera, so they didn't use too much makeup on me. But the flow, the professionalism, the presentation that Lee brought to the party really gave us an incredible leg up in being able to deliver quality content, quality information to the membership, keep you guys engaged, keep you guys informed. And congratulations to Lee and Between Two Yetis for doing an incredible job with that. Really, really top shelf. Miami International Boat Show, as you guys know, we are partners in ownership of what's been called the Miami Yacht Show for several years. Informa entered into an agreement. Informa is our partner, previously Show Management. Informa entered into an agreement with the National Marine Manufacturers Association, owners of the Miami International Boat Show, and we have all agreed to blend the two shows together. So it's going to be a significantly better offering in the years to come. We're capitalizing on the rebirth of the Miami Beach Convention Center. The One Herald Plaza is the property downtown where we've been holding it the last couple of years. That's the name of that property. That property will be significantly more activated than it has been in the past. Pretty much everything from 45 feet down will be in the convention center, and everything from 45 feet up will be over at One Herald Plaza. So that's going to be an incredible event. There's going to be a whole lot more to do, and I dare say it will become, in very short order, the leading boat show in the world. There's no doubt about it. The economic impact of the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, last year they did a survey, or excuse me, the year before, when they had the big show in 19, was $1.3 billion. Now, how they measure economic impact is, everybody who buys a pair of shoes in Fort Lauderdale that week is a part of the economic impact. But it's real. That's what really happens to the economy. The combined between yacht show and boat show in Miami, the last time it was measured, which was in around 2014 or 16, was 1.3 billion, and I dare say it's going to be significantly more than that. The good news for the association is we derive a lot of our revenue from that show, and we were able to, through the help of the executive committee, we were able to negotiate a deal with Informa that we have a guaranteed income in the years coming forward with a minimum that is equal to what we received in our 2020 check, which was pretty significant, and either that minimum or a percentage of the gross revenues of the show, whichever is greater. So our economic stability through that funds half of our annual budget. Our economic stability will be assured going forward. Also, with some of these other platforms that we've developed, it's helping ensure the economic viability of the association so we can continue to bring you great events, great services, and enhance consumer protections. Our forms update I just talked about, and the one other thing I wanted to mention was the EU effort. In Europe, obviously, it's been a little bit stymied over the last 12, 14 months because of the inability to travel. We have done a few events that the Europeans partook in with regard to webinars, online stuff, but we'll start going live over there again. We will be back in Europe for, well, I will, and I'm sure several of the attendees here will. We'll be in Europe for Cannes and for Monaco, and our plan is to hold a 2-day summit at the Monaco Yacht Club in November, like we did in 2019 for new build, refit, and yacht sales in the law. So we steadily gain traction with the European community. The one other thing I wanted to quickly mention is the Caribbean Charter Yacht Show and the Bahamas Charter Yacht Show. So we are the International Yacht Brokers Association, and while there's been a tacit bit of attention given to the charter industry, it hasn't been very highly focused until the last couple of years. The Charter Professionals Committee does an amazing job in networking and keeping us informed and trying to identify the barriers to commerce so we can help remove those. We have formed a Charter Retail Committee. The Charter Retail Committee is the brokers. For those of you that aren't really familiar with charter managers are the wholesale side. They manage the boats. They're the listing agents. Charter brokers are the retail side. They get the customers and charter the boats. Well, there's been some oppression in the charter show industry, so we've offered some alternatives to that. Starting December 9th through the 12th, St. Thomas Charter Show at Yacht Haven Grand, an IYBA and IGY event. It will be of, for, and by the industry. February 24th, 5th, 6th, and 7th in Nassau is the Bahamas Charter Show, of, for, and by the industry. And that's all we have in the charter offerings right now, other than, if you're familiar with something called the Demise charter agreement, it's a bareboat charter agreement. You charter the boat and then you bring your crew and you drive it. wink, wink. It's been authored by a group called the American Yacht Charter Association, AYCA, and the board of directors has authorized the funding for us to have the attorneys. David Moss is doing a great job at building out the IYBA, Demise Charter Agreement, and the Vessel Services Agreement. So we will now be offering forms and a platform upon which they can do business that is IYBA sanctioned and copyrighted. We've got more incredible technological advancements coming through the summer months. It's classified. If I were to tell you, I'd have to kill all of you, and then we wouldn't get anything done because I'd be in jail, so that won't work really well. But we've got some really good stuff on the horizon that we're working very hard on. Your board is amazingly active. I give thanks and kudos to all of those guys. They pitch in, they jump in. You may not realize it. Gary tried to warn me when I was president. I gave it 100 hours a month of volunteer time. Bob gives it, I don't know, probably like 2.5, 3 hours, but still we get a lot of things done. The board volunteers their time. They do amazing things, and they do it all for the right reasons. It's to raise the level of professionalism in the industry, to enhance your ability to do business, and to protect consumers. So a round of applause and thanks to the board members that give their time and effort. Thanks to all of you for coming here and being a part of this and supporting us. And I'm going to tee it to Bob, who's going to kick off the rest of the program. Thanks for listening.